Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, June 8th, 2026, and I'd ask that everyone present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batkins?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati?
Here.
Mr. Bowe is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. Witt? Here. Mr. Verkes?
Here. Thank you. All right. Next is the approval of the consent agenda, including approval of the regular board meeting minutes of May 26, 2026, amendment to the 2026 annual meetings calendar, approval of the Michigan Townships Association annual dues for July 1st, 2025 to June, is that July 1st, 2026 to June 30th?
Yeah.
2027 in the amount of $8,521. The Smart Fiscal Year 2027 Municipal Credit and Community Credit Contract, and approval of the bills in the amount of $995,172.54. Unless there are any changes, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there support? Support. Got a motion by Mr. Batkins with support by Mr. Olgiati to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. Board members, there are a couple proposed changes based on recent correspondence today with Selfridge. We are asking to remove item F1 regarding the clubhouse pump station. And also based on correspondence received today, we're asking to add item G2 to post, advertise, and interview for the account bookkeeper in the treasurer's office. Unless there are any other changes, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda with the two revisions.
I'll make the motion. Support.
Got a motion with support. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Next is announcements. The DIA is here in Harrison Township. Please visit the township website for information about our upcoming event this Thursday, June 11th, at the Senior Center, where you can tour the township and visit the DIA installations with our Beautification Commission. The Tucker Senior Center has lots of exciting trips coming up, from baseball games to Greenfield Village. Contact the Senior Center today by calling 586-466-1497 to learn more or to register to attend. The 21st Annual Free Kids Fishing Derby is this Saturday, June 13th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. It will take place at the Lake St. Clair Metro Park North Marina. Please RSVP online through the township website or by calling 586-466-1497. And for more information on these as well as all other township events, you can call the supervisor's office 586-466-1445 or visit our website at www.harrisontownshipmi.gov. Are there any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll move forward in our agenda to item D1, approval of the 2025 deficit elimination.
Well, yeah, I think we got misorganized there, so if we don't mind.
Nope.
We do the audit presentation first.
Sure.
And then, so I'd invite Dan Merritt up from Raymond, who is our auditor, to present the finding. There was a packet with the slides that Dan's going to go over that he distributed before the start of the meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the introduction. Sorry, the printed slides are printed, stapled through over, so you have to flip each time we go through slides. So next year I'll come back, we'll do it one side. So again, thank you very much for having me. My name is Dan Merritt. I'm a principal at Raymond Robson. We've been the township's independent auditor. This is our fourth year now since 2022. On the first slide of my presentation, you'll see my smiling face along with the manager, Amanda Wedgwood. and Brendan Burns, who is our senior associate. On our team here in Southeast Michigan, we have about 25 people. We do nothing but local government auditing, so townships, cities, counties. We work with Oakland County, City of Sterling Heights, Sacred Bay School District, just to name a few, along with a few other townships in Macomb County. So we're very pleased to continue the partnership with Harrison Township and kind of continue on with being sort of a leader in the public sector. On the, I think it's actually the third slide here, I'll run through the audit opinion and key financial highlights. Then I'll get into some of the financial details, and then we'll kind of close out with some high-level insights. So first, most important thing I'm here tonight to tell you is that we're going to give an unmodified opinion on the township's audit report. Nikki and her team have done a wonderful job preparing for the audit and executing alongside my team. We expect to issue the audit report tomorrow, pending the board's approval of drafts here tonight. That will be an on-time audit filing. The State of Michigan Department of Treasury requires that you file within 6 months of your fiscal year end, which should be June 30th, so you'll be good 3 weeks ahead of schedule here. Second, no new accounting pronouncements were adopted in fiscal year 25. As a local government in Michigan, you're required to report under GASB, or Governmental Accounting Standards Board requirements. That means that every couple of years they come out with new requirements and you're required to align with them. This year there were no substantial pronouncements that affected the township. Third, good financial reporting requires the use of estimates. There are certain things like how well funded the pension plan is, how fast capital assets are being used up, the estimate of what rate at which compensated balances like sick and vacation time are being used up, that you have to incorporate into financial reporting. Not everything is as black and white as we got cash in, we sent cash out. We reviewed all of the estimates made by management and deemed them reasonable. Fourth, if your auditor ever tells you that they had difficulties dealing with management, that's an immediate red flag. You should ask a lot of questions of your auditor at that point. We've never had any issues dealing with management since we have been the township's auditor, and that continues here for fiscal year 25. Fifth and sixth, and I'll get to this in a sort of a historical context on a later slide too, we had no material misstatements, no uncorrected adjustments, no findings, which are called in the audit world, you can either get a material weakness or significant deficiency as a finding. I know they both sound really bad. I promise one of them is worse. The township had a clean audit report this year, so not just an unmodified opinion, but no findings and no other matters. Slide 4. Just a brief notification, the township did not require a single audit this year. If you expend more than $1 million in federal grant awards in a single year, you're required to have what's called a single audit of all of those federal awards. The township did not expend more than $1 million in federal grant awards this year and did not require a single audit. Slide 5. Talks about the major revenue line items that go into the township's governmental fund statements. And there are basically two main sources of revenue for most townships in Michigan. That's property taxes and state shared revenue, along with any other grants that the township might receive. The township's property tax revenue continues to be very stable. You're not levying any major new millages. You just have good, stable property tax growth within the community. That means you have a healthy financial base on which to build township operations. If you were to look back the last couple of years of your intergovernmental revenue, you had the 2 outlier years where you spent all that ARPA revenue that the federal government provided. Outside of that, state shared revenue has stayed pretty stable and projects to continue to for the next several years. Slide 6. Brief overview of the police and fire operating fund results. Here we show what were the inflows and outflows of both the fire fund and the police fund. And that yellow bar at the bottom right, that is what was your net profit loss. So you can see for the police fund on the right, there basically was no net profit. It was flat, right? You budgeted equivalent to what you brought in, so that's careful, good, conservative budget management, means that you continue to be on good, stable pace within the police fund. In the fire fund, you actually had a small surplus. You moved some of that money to the fire equipment fund in order to pay for improvements to fire equipment over the years. So good operating results on both sides. Slide 7 is trying to give context regarding the general fund around, is our fund balance in the general fund healthy, right? Because I can tell you, hey, yeah, unassigned fund balance is about 3.5 million. That doesn't tell you whether that number is a good number or a bad number. So here we say, how many months of expenditures could the township cover with that general fund balance? The National GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, says keep at least 2 months of fund balance on hand in the general fund. The township now, for the second year in a row, is stable at about 8.5 months. So the township has done a good job making sure that it has plenty of operating reserve to deal with unforeseen issues, problems, what have you, and continues to be in a very stable financial position. Slide 8, the township actually has 3 different pension and OPEB plans, an employee retirement system, a fire pension plan, and a post-employment health plan. During full board, I only talk about the OPEB, the other post-employment benefit plan for future retiree healthcare benefits and life insurance, because it's the least funded of those plans. If you look at the funded percentages since 2021 here, you can see that that funded percentage has slowly crept up as the township has been making additional contributions to try to bring that funded status up to 40%, which is where the state of Michigan says it should be funded at to maintain a PA 202 quote-unquote funded plan. So we've increased in 5% funded status since last fiscal year. If you continue along this trend, you should meet that funded status in the next couple fiscal years, assuming that investment returns continue to be good, which of course is out of all of our control and relates to the overall performance of the economy. Slide 9 is perhaps my favorite slide in the presentation. This is talking about, were there any findings or other matters noted? You can see that across the key at the top here, findings, material weaknesses or significant deficiencies would be blue or dark gray, and other matters are green. You don't have any blue or gray bars here. You haven't had a finding since 2021's audit report. So that's great news on the audit performance side. And 2025 is the first year we didn't even have any other matters or management letter comments around, we think that you should do this slightly differently. So it's a very clean year of audit at the township, and I think goes to the level of preparedness by the finance department. So on my last slide here, I'll just try to give my 3 main takeaways from this year's audit. First, the township is very organized and very well prepared for the audit. And this year, they did the audit in a record time, about 36 days. That is nearly unheard of turnaround for a local government in the state of Michigan on issuing an audit. I don't have any, my manager, Amanda, doesn't have any other townships that have finished their audit in 36 days in recent memory, so that's an excellent, clean and well-organized system. Second, the township has a strong financial position in all of its governmental funds, despite levying only 8.7 mills, continues to, as I was mentioning to Ken and Adam earlier, do more with less. I think that the township does a good service to its constituents by managing its money carefully while not levying a substantial amount of property tax. Finally, as I pointed out earlier, the township continues to work on funded status. Every plan of the township improved somewhere between 4% and 8% in funded status this year. We, as the auditor, is always going to want to see that funded status continue to creep up towards 100% over the life of that plan. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions. All in all, a very good year of audit progress for the township.
So I'll just add that when we did meet with the auditor, this was the document that they presented us. So there is a substantial amount of work that does go into the audit.
All 140 pages.
Yes, but obviously in the interest of, brevity and respect for the residents and board's time, it was as clean of an audit as it could be, and so we kind of condensed that gigantic report into these slides. Does the board have any questions?
I have none. Great job, Nikki.
Yep, and for sure, it's
It's a super team effort, like, it wouldn't be where it was without Ms. Gibbous leading the charge.
it's primarily
But-
Adam and I, but she's a solid.
Yeah, yeah, we'll give her the credit.
Yeah,
No, but then, so it goes beyond the accounting department because it's treasurer's office responding with request, it's water and sewer, making sure everything that they You know, I mean, like, they have to go out there and count nuts and bolts sometimes to make sure that we have, you know, the material controls in place.
Mr. Huth replying to requests about legal activity.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it's
it's-
a-
we're all,
it's a
we all
team effort.
participate, yep. Yeah, and Nikki does her fair share.
Yeah.
All right, if there's no other comments, we'd be looking for a motion.
Yeah, to receive and file.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello, support by Mr. Brado to receive and file the 2025 audit presentation. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, this doesn't recall a roll call. No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board, and thank you to Raymond for all the work they put in as well.
We appreciate the partnership, hope to continue it for many years.
Excellent, thank you. All right, now, approval of the.
Jumping back to the approval of the 2025 deficit elimination plan. So, you know, we just went through and had the audit presentation, but one of the things that we have to report pretty much every year is that we have a deficit condition that exists in our special assessment fund because of the way we funded projects. We funded them internally, so it involved outlays of capital that are paid back over time. But because of that, because we self-financed it to lower the cost for the residents who are getting the work done, the board has to adopt a resolution saying like, hey, we know we have a deficit in that fund. Here's the plan that, you know, those are being repaid under a special assessment. So over a period of time, the finance director puts together a spreadsheet and says, here's all the payments over the rest of the life of those assessments. And it'll eliminate the budget, you know, eliminate the deficit in X amount of years. And Larry, you know, it's only a handful of years where we have some of those projects still remaining at
Oh.
this point.
Figure about 3 years left.
Yeah, so, you know, this portion of it will change. If we, you know, finance other projects this way, then, you know, we'll keep having that little bit of a deficit.
But we've had to pass this resolution probably the last
Forever.
6-7 years at least.
At least.
Yeah. All right, is there discussion or is there a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support? Support. All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati to adopt the deficit elimination plan resolution for 2025. Discussion, board members. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Rabo is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. All right, thank you. Next on our agenda, item E1 regarding rezoning of a parcel on South River Road. On April 16th, 2026, Dennis Schmalzel went before the Planning Commission and requested to rezone parcel number 17-12-15-379-041 from waterfront to R1C, which is a single-family residential zoning, to build a single-family home. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of this rezoning request, seeing that the applicant had successfully proved that the 7 standards required for a rezoning have been met. So before us is a proposal to rezone the parcel. The recommended motion is to rezone the parcel from waterfront to R1C as recommended by the Planning Commission.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support the motion.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello, support by Mr. Olgiati. I think it's pretty straightforward. Any discussion, questions, board? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, this requires a roll call.
It does, sir. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Rabo is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. Thank you, board. All right, moving forward, we did remove item F1 from the agenda. So next is F2, which I guess would be now F1.
Yeah. So before us tonight, if the board remembers, last year, we were approved for grant money to fund sewer lining at St. Christopher and Anchorage Streets through the Community Development Block Grant Program. We did receive 5 bids for this project on May 21st, had a public bid opening. Township engineer reviewed the pricing, and the recommendation is to award the work to the low bidder, DVM Utilities, in the amount of $231,962.25, plus a 15% contingency. Again, that contingency would just cover, you know, weird underground conditions if we have to do additional restoration to a manhole or anything like that. So, and again, the cost of this project, from a construction standpoint, is covered by our community development block grant allocation.
And there is a potential ancillary benefit in the sense that whatever flow we send through our sanitary sewer system to the mid or the Macomb intermediate, system. We pay, that basically forms our rates. So anything we can do to tighten up this will ultimately reduce the cost for sanitary sewer services for all of our ratepayers.
Yeah, and in the end, we're gonna, next year, at this point, we'll be finishing that subdivision off with another block grant allocation that we received this year. So that work could be done next year. So at that point, we'll have that entire subdivision have been lined. And so essentially, those sewers would be brand new at that point.
So, all right. Questions, or is there a motion to award the work to DVM Utilities for this project?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support the motion.
Okay. We've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Olgiati to award the work for the CDBG grant to DVM Utilities in the amount of $231,962.25. We had some discussion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Let's see, next. Regarding water and sewer utility worker. Item G1. Board members, one of our water and sewer utility workers recently resigned from their position. I am requesting permission to advertise an interview for the position of water and sewer utility worker 1 with a recommendation to come back before the board at a future meeting.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, got a motion with support. This, in the last contract, we isolated the various bargaining unit individuals, so only someone within this group of utility workers could apply, so there is no internal posting. So we would be hiring from outside. So this doesn't involve any internal posting, it's just advertising and interviewing. Discussion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. We did add item G2. It's very parallel to this item, so I'm going to use the agenda item as kind of a guide. The account bookkeeper in the treasurer's office recently informed us that they have an upcoming retirement date. So knowing that that is an internal opening, there is a need for us to post that, so I'm looking for a motion to post, advertise, and interview the account bookkeeper position in the treasurer's office with a recommendation to come back before the board at a future meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support the motion.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati to post, advertise, and interview for this position. Is there any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next would be public comments. So at this time, we'll open the floor for public comments. We ask that you try to limit those to 5 minutes in length, and you can address any subject that you wish.
All right, good evening, Board. Zach Eineman, Detroit Street, lived here most of my life. I unfortunately couldn't make the last meeting, but I do want to talk about something that happened a couple meetings ago in regards to the millage. I missed the fun talking about that, unfortunately. So there was a resident that came up during that, and he said, rightly so, that you guys are sidestepping the Headley Amendment. He's 100% right. The cushion that you guys are proposing goes against the letter of the law and the intent of the Headley Amendment. The Headley Amendment says that you levy a certain amount every year, you have a millage rate that's voted on, and that's the millage that's assessed, and that's the amount of taxes that are collected. The only real guarantee that I could hear about you guys not spending that cushion was that you're just going to try to be responsible stewards of the public, which is all well and good, except some of the comments that the supervisor made me a little uncomfortable at that meeting. He said that the Headley Amendment was something that didn't really help anyone, I believe was his terminology. He also said that it was a ridiculous concept. Headley's a major cornerstone of protecting, taxpayers in the state of Michigan along with Proposal A. If you remove those, you remove a lot of the safeguards for taxpayers. And then, actually, a few minutes later, he lamented the fact that people locally can actually vote on their taxes when he said, well, you can't vote on your gas tax directly. You can't vote on your income tax level directly. But every time there's a local tax, the citizens get a say pretty much at the ballot. These comments don't really inspire much confidence in me. And in fact, they're some of the most egregious comments I've seen made by a local elected official. And it prompted me to actually come out and say that here at the public comments. I know there's talk about the cushion and the reasoning for the cushion. People are worried about shortfalls in, the fire contract, or, the fire department and the police contract. But the thing is, I was listening, and I know that the clerk said, well, the first shortfall is going to be a small shortfall. It's going to be year 3 of the millage. Then a little bit larger, year 4. Well, there's a good way to solve that. It's called having a millage every couple of years instead of every 4. Now, I also heard comments where it was said, well, the reason we do that is because we don't want it used during election season. Well, the thing is, if you come out with a good proposal that's reasonable and is popular with the public, you don't have to worry about that. The only time you do is if you don't do those things. So, again, it leads me to wonder what's going to happen with our taxes in the township. In terms of shortfalls, we heard the auditor talk about how we have 8.5 months of sustainability. It was brought up about alternative revenue sources, revenue sharing, gains from investments. I'm sure we have different funds in the township, enterprise funds that help fund different things in the township. So it's hard for me to believe that there's not a different funding source that we could use for any shortfall in those contracts. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered by the board in terms of how funds are raised, how they're spent. And I think on top of explanation to the residents, you also need to kind of maybe rethink your mentality when it comes to local taxes and how people pay and what they pay. Thank you.
Thank you.
C. William Bardell, 29-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door. Clean up, fix up, people helping people. Just want to remind everyone, check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook, stay up to date on it, and there's a little bit of reading material for you. And thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. So I'll do my best to respond to the comments from the residents. One of the things noted was that it was said that we are sidestepping the Headley Amendment. We are not sidestepping the Headley Amendment. We cannot sidestep the Headley Amendment. The voters of Harrison Township had enough confidence in this board for the last several millage elections to approve a millage rate that was higher than the 8.7 mills, because I believe they also understand, that's all I can guess, that having a fixed millage rate tied to property values allows for some increase in the taxes collected, because we recognize that inflation is a natural part of our economy. While we don't control it, the way that our property taxes and our taxable value is calculated, it's a maximum of 5% regardless. Otherwise, it's basically based on the last 2 years of inflation. That's the inflation rate multiplier. So we're not saying to the voters, and we have not for, well, I can only say for as long as I've been supervisor, anytime that we've proposed a millage rates that's higher in totality than the amount that we levy, we've never levied any more than the amount that we said on there. So supervisor said, a resident said, the supervisor said that the Headley Amendment was a bad idea. I believe it is. I believe that I don't know that any industry can ignore inflation. I don't know why anyone thinks that local government can ignore inflation. The Headley Amendment prevents us from that change. But the voters consistently have improved millages when we propose them for an amount greater than the amount that we levy that gives us that cushion. So it isn't this board, and it kind of ties back to the idea saying that, local taxes are one of those things that we control. we, the people, get to vote on a pretty substantial tax that we pay. When you think of all the taxes that you pay, you know, we don't vote on our income tax, pretty substantial. But if you're a property owner, every person in Harrison Township that's a registered voter has the opportunity to weigh in on the millage rate that they pay. So I'm not saying that it's a worse system. Frankly, I think it's a better system. And the fact that consistently voters have approved, I think the last millage was a question of 9.25 mills, with us saying we're only going to levy 8.7. We've done that for the last 4 years. We approved a couple of meetings ago a renewal, which was a little bit more than 9 mills, but again, with the acknowledgement that we'll only levy the 8.7. We do not have any substantial alternative funding sources other than property taxes. Simply stated, if a millage, the police and fire millage, and it's important to note that Harrison Township only levies a police millage that's dedicated strictly to police services and a fire millage that's dedicated to fire services. Harrison Township doesn't have a general fund millage. We are the only municipality in Macomb County that does not have a general fund millage. So we do operate pretty lean. But the revenue sharing sources that we have and any other alternative sources would probably fund our fire department for a month or two. They're nowhere near the volume of money. That's my guess. I don't quote that, but it's far from being able to sustain. We had the discussion about the fact that we do have the general fund, that is, has about 8.5 months, the equivalent of 8.5 months in reserves for operation. I don't think it would be good for us to be down to 6 weeks of reserve. That would be irresponsible. But I might suggest that it would also be irresponsible for us to have 5 years sitting in the bank. But at that point, you're saying, well, why are you collecting enough revenue from the various sources, which are ultimately all primarily taxes, because that's how we fund local government. I feel like 8.5 months is about right sized. It's not too much. We're not sitting on a bunch of cash, but it's not too little. We're not taking chances and risks with the public's money. Those are my responses. Is there any other board comment? Hearing none, we'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board.